Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Your Health Matters. My name is Carl Sterling, and today we're live in the studio, and with me is my co-host and my partner in crime.
Hello.
Hi, Elizabeth. How you doing?
Good.
Elizabeth Brusa is with us today, too. Kyla is our producer. Thank you, Kyla. We love Kyla. She's
Yes,
the best.
we do.
When I find out she's going to be here, I'm always so happy. Well, how you doing today? Let's start with that.
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
That's good.
Sometimes I just feel funny, like some days I just feel kind of funny. Not like, haha, funny. Although, I've been reading those books that I got for my birthday.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so our friend Doug brought me a book of jokes.
Yes.
And then Nikki gave me a book of puns. So, folks, when you come into the clinic, if you're
sorry.
one of our people, you're going to probably hear more and more bad jokes, bad dad jokes, bad Carl jokes. But, it's part of what goes around our clinic.
I'm so sorry.
So, I'm wondering, is the background music going to stay on for a while? Ah, great. Okay, thanks. Oh, I really like that song.
I do, too.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Yeah, I only saying this as a matter of fact, friends, not opinion. There's a lot going on in L.A. right now, and so actually 3 of the people who on the music you just heard live out there. And I was texting them just to see, because 2 of them are very, very close to where all the protests are going on, and they are safe, but it is chaos. I'll tell you that. That's all I'll say, because I don't know anymore, and I don't have any opinions. I just was, I'm kind of concerned for people's safety. Today we have a whole lot to get to. I say that every week, but we do, because I could sit here all day and go through all kinds of things and subjects and topics and never get to even scratching the surface of most of it. Today, our subject is going to be talking about what will your last decade look like? Wow. I mean, we talk about this, right? We've talked about it with quite a few of our guests.
Yes.
The first one that comes to mind is Dr. Michael Joyner, a little over a year ago. I think my son might have been on that. I can't remember. But anyways, Joyner talked about, and he's with the Mayo Clinic. I found out about him through the Andrew Huberman podcast. By the way, if you're not familiar with it, just go look him up. And he's amazing. So Joyner says, if you want to go into your 70s with a strong, have a good 70s decade, you better go into it strong. What about your 80s? Same thing. What about your 90s? Same thing. What about your 60s, 50s? It's the same thing every time, folks. Strength train and move. Keep the muscles built and strong. Have sufficient muscle mass, because muscle is really everything. Oh, of course, you can have a neurological disorder, and that can impair your ability to move. It depends, right? Everyone's different, too. You see a person with Parkinson's, then you've seen one person with Parkinson's, because no 2 are exactly the same. Some people have tremors. Some people never get a tremor. Some move well for a long time. Some don't move well, starting rather quickly after the onset of the disease. So bottom line is, though, let's just say in general for the population, which we do have an aging population, my friends. I happen to be among the boomer population, baby boomers. So there's a lot of us. I mean, we are the dominant population right now. I'm looking at you. You're not a boomer. You're too young.
You make me feel like I'm a baby. I'm not that a baby.
Well, no, but there are a lot. Born between 1946 and 1964, that's the boomer generation of that 18-year or so span, 19 years, I guess, technically. Then it's, there's a lot of us.
Yep.
And a lot of us are having problems. A lot of us are having health issues. We're later today, and maybe we'll start a little bit with it right now, is the choices you make now are going to determine your last decade. So, during your last decade, are you going to be able to play tag with your grandchildren? Are you going to be able to go, well, maybe you want to go to the state fair. Are you going to be able to state fair with your grandchildren? Maybe that's not your thing, but is something that they want to do. Are you going to be able to go to their graduation or their college graduation, high school, see them before they go to the prom, go to their weddings, things like that? Maybe even great-grandchildren, right? So you might think, well, gee, yeah, I'm going to go. Well, what if you can't go? If you can't go, for a lot of us, these decisions that we make now are going to affect whether we can do all these things later on down the line. It's just that it might seem like it's 20 years away before maybe I go to a grandchild's wedding. Could be less, could be more, but let's say 20 years. I mean, hopefully more, right? But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to look out for them. I mean, don't get married too young, but hey, whatever. Yeah, I plan on going. So what am I going to be, like maybe 85 years old, 84 years old? I just turned 64 a few days ago on Thursday. Thanks, by the way. That was great.
You're welcome.
Both of those cakes were great because somehow it got celebrated 2 days in a row.
You're special. I had to.
And I'm not blaming you because I partook in everything. But I got to tell you, I feel a little bit bigger this weekend. So you and I agreed we're in a pact.
Yep, we're in a pact.
Mañana. Well, today really, but we start this regimen tomorrow. So, but this last decade thing, what do you want it to be like? So I can speak from personal experience, and I don't mean to speak ill of anybody who has passed on, but I'll just talk about my dad, who I loved dearly and will always love dearly. Well, he wasn't healthy enough to go to the graduation. He wasn't healthy enough to do a lot of things. And he did wind up nearly 6 years completely bedridden. Now, in his case, it was avoidable. And Dad, I love you. It's not a judgment. He didn't know this kind of stuff. Nobody told him this kind of stuff. And it was so long ago now that all that happened. It was before I got into this business. So it's like I couldn't really give him advice he would go by that would be solid in his mind. But he couldn't do that. He couldn't do these things. So it was very, very difficult, yet it could have been avoided. There are other people I know who are in horrible, horrible, horrible circumstances health-wise. Losing a leg, losing a foot, maybe both, foot on one, leg on the other. All kinds of cancers, kidney failure, stage 5 for years, dialysis 3 times a week, and all kinds of health problems. And for these people who I'm thinking of, one in particular, but there are a few, these things were avoidable. I guess you can never guarantee. You can't go back in time and say, okay, if I start over 40 years ago, let's start over when I'm 25 or 24. And I decide now I'm going to change my diet. Now I'm going to stop drinking so much alcohol every day. And then I would have been okay. No, maybe some things would have happened and you would have gotten cancer. Maybe you would have had type 2 diabetes for some reason. We can't guarantee anything, but we can surmise. The behaviors now, the decisions today, the decisions right now that you make every time you put something into your face, okay, and whether you move or stay sedentary will affect your future. It's just the way it is. Okay. So that last decade, folks, my grandfather on my father's side, and that was, biologically, I wasn't related to him. He was a stepdad to my father. And long story. But anyways, he passed away at just shy of 85. He just dropped dead one day. That was it. He poured the usual drink he and my grandmother had at 11 at night, sat down to watch the news. He would always fall asleep. She would always go wake him up. They would go to bed. Well, he poured the drink, brought it to her, sat down, watched the news. He fell asleep. She went to wake him up. He was gone.
Yeah.
And guess what he was doing all day that day? The same thing he did every day. He was lugging dirt and rocks and all that through the yard. His last decade, it was darn good. So, with that, we have to go to our first break already. We got lots to go over, and we're going to get right into a plan of action for things to do to make your last decade as active as possible, as healthy as possible, and just living a great life right up to the last minute, hopefully. This is Your Health Matters, News Radio 570 WSYR. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. This is Your Health Matters. We're talking about what your last decade is going to look like, meaning the last decade of your life. Well, you can't stop the clock from ticking, but you can change how you age. We know this, and we help people do it. We're just tour guides, right? We tell people what to do. They come into our clinic, and they get results. Man, we've got some incredible results.
Yep, we do.
It's amazing.
I like the people that come to our clinic, do what we tell them to do or suggest, and they do it, and then they go out and still continue to do it.
That's my favorite situation too, because if you come in and see us a couple times a week, you're with us an hour and a half, whatever. Well, if you're 2 hours a week, you got 166 other hours in the week to screw it up. If you keep moving and doing stuff, that's great, and that's something we help with. Okay, in your programming. Well, you're going to do this with us because you probably can't do it where you're going to go. Because our place, I'm finding out since we've been growing and officially we'll open our first full-scale location, Miami. And it appears it'll be before Labor Day, maybe even as soon as August 1st. I just found out on Friday that it's like 0.1% away from being a done deal. So I'm very excited about this.
Me too, for you.
Where was I going with this? I was talking about people coming in. Oh, because what we do is different. I mean, let's talk about what we do in a little while. I want to talk about this. You can't stop the clock from ticking, but you can change how you age. Well, let's talk about muscle contractions. You know, we've talked about this. One of the first episodes I ever did had people looking at me like I had three heads when I would run into them after the show, like the following few days or weeks. You have got to be kidding me. You telling me that strength training and building muscle is important even when you're older? I'm telling you it's important every day of your life, and especially when you get older. Well, all of this is going to come out in the next few minutes of why it's so important. Let's talk about muscle contractions. When you contract your muscles, okay, so maybe you're doing a chest press, a bicep curl, a squat, a leg press, a leg extension, a plank, anything that's exercising a muscle groups. Contractions create neurochemicals that help fight anxiety and depression. They are called hope molecules. Not only do they make you feel better emotionally and psychologically, they boost your immune system. Things like lifting weights, even doing body weight training, yoga, although it depends on yoga, but still, it's going to be a good thing. Running, jumping, swimming. Exercise of any type has the most potential effect on preventing things like dementia. Because when you exercise, your muscles create myokines. Myokines play an amazing part in metabolic health and vascular health, which are the two biggest risk factors in dementia. I also want you to think about this. Whatever you do that hurts the heart is going to hurt your brain. Whatever you do that helps the heart is going to help the brain. Okay, so let's break this down now. Let's go over this a little bit again. Neurochemicals, myokines, these hope molecules, these myokines, play a role in making you feel better emotionally and psychologically, mentally. And they play an amazing part in boosting your metabolic health. Let's start with that one. Metabolic health.
Metabolic health. Yes.
So this is not a quiz.
Not a
'cause you
quiz.
know the
Okay,
answer.
I know.
Oh, Elizabeth likes quizzes.
No, I do not.
All right, so we build muscle. What happens? Metabolism
goes up.
Metabolism goes up because muscle is where metabolism happens. Okay, sure, it might happen in your liver a little bit too, but that's not a muscle. Okay, you need muscle to live longer. Muscle is the organ of longevity. This is the one that really got people. It's your largest organ. No, I thought it was your skin. No, it's not. It's muscle, because muscle is an organ. It's not just a thing. It's not just a piece of meat. Muscle is an organ. Metabolism happens in your muscles. You have mitochondria. You have you've got mitochondria in every cell. These are the power packs. You need to fuel those things so that they can help you to keep moving and keep building that muscle, right? You need to work that muscle. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. You're going to atrophy. Atrophy, what's that? Well, try going to the hospital and be bedridden for 1 week. And then do a body composition with me before. Don't go to the hospital. And don't do this. I'm only kidding, folks. Come in today, do a body composition, go to bed for a week, come back and do a body composition with me, and guess what? Your body composition is going to change. You probably will have lost weight because you're in bed for 7 days. I'm going like extreme on this. Guess what, though? What the weight you lost? Muscle.
I was going to say, you better continue with that.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of it, just saving it up for the big finale. What's that weight you lost? It's muscle. You can't afford to lose it. You could have a great brain and a great central and peripheral nervous systems and all good organ health, and if you don't have enough muscle, your bones probably have lost density. You can't stay upright as well because even though your nervous system's working well and firing well, your muscle isn't enough to keep you upright and mobile safely. So your fall risk increases, and because you probably will have lost some bone density, your fracture risk goes up. So muscle's more than just a thing. It's your organ of longevity. It's where metabolism happens. How about vascular health? Well, you got to get oxygen to the brain. Right? Why is that good for us? Because all of our body needs oxygen. And if parts of it don't get enough oxygen, they're not fueled as well. They're not as healthy. So I'm just going to skip a couple things here. There's a thing that I've known about for a while, and it popped up again the other day. It's called Japanese interval walking. So let's talk about this. We're going to be bobbing and weaving all through this whole 2 hours, folks. It all has to do with the same thing. Your last decade being kicking butt and taking names. So the Japanese interval walking involves 30 minutes of the following. 30 minutes at a moderate or regular pace. And then, 3 minutes. 30 minutes of total, breaking it down and splitting it up into 3 minutes at a moderate pace, followed by 3 minutes of a rapid pace, which they describe as the pace you would walk if the don't walk light came on when you just start crossing the road and it's too late to go back. You're walking fast.
Right.
You might even be running. They don't say run. They say 3 minutes moderate, not slow, 3 minutes rapid. And then back and forth between the two for 30 minutes.
I got it. Question. So they explain this because if you go walking with a friend, it's like if you can talk to them and get out of breath, then you're walking at the right speed. That's what I was told. Is that true?
Yeah, I've heard that for decades, right? And I think it might be true. And the only reason that I'm saying it might be true is because some experts and people I respect have said it. And I've never looked for research, but it would seem to me that if you're walking and you can't talk and it's too much, you might be pushing just a little excess. I mean, maybe that's how it is. Getting into the 3 minutes of rapid.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. You want to like push
it.
That's what I would do. Push yourself, then get back to the okay. Now I can talk at a regular pace. That's a good one. I should look it up and report on that. But it makes sense to me. Good question too. So this interval walking is going to primarily it's going to keep you in that zone 2 heart rate. The word zone 2, well, that's your zone of longevity. I mean, there's plenty of research on that if you walk for, 30 or more is better, minutes per day in a zone 2. Do you want to know what zone 2 is? Well, go to, get online and go to some heart rate training zone calculator. It's going to ask you your height, your age, your weight, and your gender. Yes, you do have to put a gender in there. And you will be given a set of numbers for 1 through 5, like resting heart rate, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so zone 2 is your fat burn zone, and it's your longevity zone. So when you're doing this interval walking, it's going to help you burn fat, improve improve blood pressure, meaning if yours is a little high, well, it'll probably come down a little. Definitely get oxygen and blood to the brain and improve heart health, so brain health and heart health. And I can't even emphasize how important it is for this. We have some really impressive people who, when they come in and we do their body comps, that they come in and an 80-something-year-old came in.
Yes.
Who is 15 years old?
14.
14 metabolically?
Yes.
The unit we use is dead on accurate. Okay, so this is not just a bunch of wishful thinking. Now, genetics probably play part of a role in that.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it, yeah. But there's a lot of longevity in the family, right?
Correct. I've known this woman since I was young. She was my neighbor growing up. Well, her mother was my neighbor growing up, and I know that her father lived to be 93, and her mother lived to be 107.
Yeah.
She has uncles that are up there.
Late 90s. I think
one's
just
almost
turned
99.
Yeah.
She has longevity on her side.
So yeah, you have a genetic predisposition probably for various things. She could have it for young metabolism. We have another gentleman, I'll just say he's my godbrother.
Yep.
And my godbrother is in his teens too.
Yes.
We have a 90-something-year-old from South Korea.
Yes.
He's 91 and he's like 32 metabolically.
Yeah.
So yes, he's also type 2 diabetic. Now,
Yes.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Because there's not an ounce of fat on that guy extra, but it's just kind of this weird situation. But, things happen. Not everyone's the same. Genetics can play a role. But guess what, folks? If you come in and you're 50 years old and you're burning calories like an 84-year-old, I can tell you something. We get you moving, you get doing the right stuff, or you just do it on your own. Get moving. You're going to be able to change that metabolic age. And that's also going to be hooked right into your VO2 max score, which is one of your single predictors, best predictors of how long and how well you will live. I'm not doing the testing anymore because the equipment we had just wasn't up to par for me. It was malfunctioning way too much. When it worked, it was great, though, and we love it.
Yep.
If we get back to it, I'll let you know. In the meantime, I guess we need to go to break. We'll continue on this when we come back. We have so much to say about metabolic health and so many other things to make your last decade your best, the best it can be. This is Your Health Matters. I'm with Elizabeth Brusa, News Radio 570 WSYR. My name's Carl Sterling. Be right back. So we're talking about making your last decade of life really awesome. All right, we talked about Japanese interval walking. 30 minutes of, if you can. I mean, you have to do what you can do. Maybe you do 30 seconds slow, 30 seconds rapid. and go back and forth for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Work yourself up. Don't kill yourself. But if you can do it, okay? If you do the 30 minutes, 3, or maybe you go 2 and 2, or 1 and 1. You have to start somewhere, all right? Sleep, very, very important. All right, why is sleep so important? Well, sleep combined with dieting. You know that 60% of dieters who get insufficient sleep end up losing weight. However, it's not from where they want because they're losing it from muscle mass more so than fat. Okay, so if you adopt the same bedtime, the same awaken time, these are paramount for cortisol regulation. Okay, and so let's talk about a couple of. I want to tell you something. I just put up a new page on my website this morning, having to do with sleep and sleep hacks. So I keep running over my cord in my chair. Pretty soon I won't hear anything. Okay, so this whole thing about sleep, all of this ties in together. So it may seem like I'm totally ADHD. Of course, it is true, I am. But I'm all over the place, but it all ties in. Your muscle mass, your percentage of fat, your metabolic age, your heart health, your brain health. We could work out and have great workouts. If you don't sleep at night, you're not going to be as healthy. You're probably not going to live as long or as well. All right? So sleep is so important. What I want you to do, if you have trouble sleeping in particular, and I know a lot of you do, go to carlsterling.com. That's Carl with a K. Right now, the tab for sleep's on the upper right in the menu. That may shift over time as I add more pages. But right now, that's a chapter out of my second book, and I put it up this morning. Manage Sleep Effectively. carlsterling.com, Carl with a K. Do what it says. Just do it. Okay, that way I don't have to talk about it here. We can talk about other things. Meaning right now, I don't mean do it now. Don't go to sleep now. We want you to learn some stuff, right? Okay, so our sleep is so important because, this cortisol situation. Let's just talk about cortisol. In this chapter on my website, it doesn't really go into detail about cortisol production very much and how that can be bad. First of all, without cortisol, you're going to be dead. You have to have it. When you wake up in the morning and you open those eyes and you get, let's say you're getting daylight into your eyes or some type of light from above, not below like a night light plugged in on an outlet by the floor. Light from above, especially natural light, when it comes down from above, hits the bottom of your retinas. Okay, it starts that cortisol sleep-wake cycle. All right, cortisol gets you going through the day, and it begins a 14 to 17 hour, generally speaking, depends upon who you are and all that kind of stuff, and what your body is like, what you're like. A lot of different factors go into play, but generally speaking, a 14 to 17 hour period of being awake. All right, if you get up at 2 in the morning to go to the bathroom and you go flip on the overhead light, well, maybe you have to for safety reasons. Always be safe, right? We don't want you falling down and all that kind of stuff. But if you can get away without it, like I do, I have a little night light in the hall and another one near the bathroom there. And so, I just go in and I can navigate around and not turn on the light. Because if you turn on that light and it's 2, 3, or 1 in the morning, and your retinas receive the light from above, it could start the cortisol cycle, which if you've ever gotten up, try to go to back to bed and don't get to sleep, it might be because you're flipping the light on above. Well, if you can do it safely, not do the light above, you're probably going to get back to sleep faster and better. All right, but we need cortisol to get us going. But we don't want too much, because if we have too much, this is one of the reasons why people who, when they don't sleep well on a regular basis, if the cortisol production is too high, we end up gaining fat. And in particular, we end up gaining that bad fat. Too much cortisol can really mess up your visceral fat. That's the fat you can't pinch because it's around your organs. You could also call it heart attack fat. All right, so now you know muscle is your organ of longevity. You need to build it, maintain it, use it. You know that sleep's important. And you know you go to carlstoring.com, Carl with a K, you're going to learn how to manage your sleep. And if all else fails, and you read through that very short chapter, it's probably a 10-minute read. You call me. You text me, 315-935-7488. It's also on my website. And we have special frequency patches. They're $5 a patch. They're not medicine. You put it on your right temple when you go to bed, you're probably going to get right to sleep faster, better. So there you go. Now we're going back to muscle. Muscle protein synthesis is a process by which your body builds new muscle proteins. This is how your muscles grow and repair and maintain themselves. It's the creation of new proteins from amino acids. All right, and it's crucial for muscle growth and for recovery after exercise. And of course, maintaining muscle, building and maintaining as you age, we already talked about it. You've got to have enough muscle or your fall risk and fracture risk goes up. Then what happens? You know, we've talked about it at least a dozen times. Fall down, break a femur, break a hip, age 65 and up, 1 year, at least 30% of those people are usually dead 1 year later. And the other 70% aren't back to where they were mobility-wise because they broke a femur or a hip. So we really need to take this into consideration, folks. Let's see what else we got here. When you consume protein, like from food or supplements, I'm going to argue that food's probably going to be better. Protein is broken down into amino acids. These acids enter the muscle cells and are used to rebuild and strengthen muscles and muscle fibers. So the key factors that are going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis or building muscle: resistance training, protein intake, sleep and recovery, and more hormonal balance. Testosterone, growth hormone, and insulin all influence a muscle protein synthesis. So, you know, that's another thing now we could get into talking about, and I'm not a doctor, so I'm not qualified on this. All I'm going to say is that type 2 diabetes is rampant. Overweight, obesity. Overweight and obesity is rampant. So we're really getting into messing with our hormones here. And if you're among that population, and I always say, you know, I can say this freely because I used to be obese. Well, here's the deal, man. Start moving, start lifting, start eating right. You're going to lose that weight. Almost guaranteed. I can't guarantee anything for anybody, but I can almost guarantee, 99% guarantee, that if you get started and you get doing the right things, exercise-wise, you know, you can go out and run every day. Fine. You've got to build muscle, and running doesn't do that. In fact, runners tend to lose muscle if they don't lift, if that's all they do is run. Wow, man, the time is flying by.
But also, if you move more, you'll sleep better, too, sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Amen to that.
Because I've been reading a lot about that lately.
It's so true. We've got to go to break already. I can't even believe it. But I want you to avoid 7 things: alcohol, tobacco, inactivity, avoid being overweight, avoid excess sugar, and this is only 6 things. I said 7. I got 6. Excess meat. We're going to talk about that when we get back, though. Okay? This is News Radio 570 WSYR. I'm with Elizabeth Brusa. Kyle is our producer. My name's Carl Stern. Matters. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. This is Your Health Matters. Just a little note here, folks. Starting next week, we're going to a 1-hour format. We will be on from noon to 1 every Sunday for the foreseeable future. We'll see how it goes. I've had to take a step back here as my company's growing and going, internationally. And the responsibilities from that have been extremely demanding and very actually stressful. And that's probably why my visceral fat went just above the healthy zone recently. Because when I get stressed, I tend to gain weight, even if I work out a lot. So we're having to step back from the commitment to radio. We're going to keep it going as long as we can. I can't make any guarantees how long we'll be here as far as on the air, but 12 to 1 starting next week. And I'll just bring the best hour I can bring you every week. Well, we will. Okay, so random facts. I'm going to read through a bunch of random things for the next 10 minutes and 36 seconds. Avoid these 7 risk factors. Alcohol, especially in excess. Like, really, the science says there is no, and I repeat, no, and I'm going to repeat again, no amount. Yes, I said no amount of alcohol that is healthy. You find whatever you want for data, I'll refute it. Because all the recent data shows no amount of alcohol, and I'll say it one more time, no amount of alcohol is healthy, especially for your brain. No amount of tobacco is healthy. Inactivity, especially age 40 and up. I'm saying that, I feel like I'm lecturing. I don't mean to sound like I'm lecturing, but you got to get moving. Enjoy your life. Savor every God-given moment. I realize there are a lot of circumstances going on, in different households, and some aren't so favorable, and work situations, and this and that, and health. And, we're here to help however we can at our clinic, including encouragement and moral support. And just, we have a community that will also help you and encourage you. They're not going to preach at you like I do. And I don't do that either. I'm just really just trying to be realistic and helpful. Avoid being overweight. Avoid it. The chances are you can change it if you really want to. But I'm convinced that there are people who just don't care. I was that way for a while, and then I got sick and tired of it. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of feeling completely, I was an embarrassment to myself, actually, because I knew I could do better, and I chose not to until I chose to do it. Yeah, what are you going to do,
Yeah.
Avoid all these sugars. I mean, yeah, some sugar, if it's from some kind of a fruit or something, sure. That's not going to kill you. Eat some blueberries. It's not going to kill you.
Nope.
It's going to be great for you. Great for your brain. Antioxidants. Now, we do have one here that says avoid excess red meat. Well, you do what you feel is best on that, folks. Get some of that grass-fed, grass-finished beef. You're going to be in the best shape eating red meat than if you buy something that has a bunch of hormones in it. You go with the carnivore people out there, they're going to say eat all the red meat you can find. I'm not sure I'm really on board with that, but I'm not a doctor. And then we have other people who've been on the show who say make vegetables the center of your life. So what am I going to tell you? There's plenty of research to show that too much red meat might be linked to cancer. And lack of sleep. Avoid a lack of sleep. I already told you about sleep, carlsterling.com, Carl with a K. There's a sleep tab. Go up and click, read it, do it, see what happens.
I got one.
Yeah.
Avoid processed foods.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yep, get the crap out of your diet.
The Doritos, the potato chips, the crackers that, all that stuff.
The nitrates and things like meats, hams, hot dogs, whatever.
Make sure you pick up the right bacon that doesn't have those things.
Yep.
Lunch meats, too.
Here we go. Bullet point list, random facts. Muscle mass and bone density begin to decrease in your 20s. We must be doing the things necessary to prevent this. Okay, people who don't drink water regularly, Scratch the second bullet point. I'm still thinking about something else. People who drink alcohol regularly have a higher baseline cortisol level. This will affect your metabolism, probably increase your metabolic age. That's the age, by the way, that you're burning calories out at. I was 40 last time I checked, and I just turned 64. I was actually disappointed because I've been in my 30s for the past decade. I'm going to bring it down, though.
I know you will.
You know I will.
I know you will.
This is going to affect your body fat, your visceral fat. Those are going to go up. Your brain health will be diminished. Your immune system will be diminished, and your life will get shorter if you drink regularly, even once a week. Sorry, folks, even a drink or two a week is too much. Being overweight and or having high blood sugar decreases blood flow to the brain. It ages the brain more quickly. It changes your genetics, believe it or not. And fat will store more toxins. You'll be more likely to be depressed if you drink regularly. And it can turn healthy testosterone production into cancer-causing forms of estrogen and damage your immune system, and you won't sleep as well, which I just said. Okay? Alcohol intake and breast cancer have a very close link. It's not only for ladies. There's some guys out there, too. I mean,
yes.
we've heard of men with breast cancer. And okay. There is no single drug that promotes longevity more than exercise, because your body is its own pharmacy. And these myokines and these hormones, these good hormones and neurochemicals that are created during exercise, well, working out just twice per week reduces all-cause mortality by up to 50%. It reduces chances of cancer threefold. So, fat. Do you have stubborn fat and visceral fat? Is your visceral fat high? Have you had it measured? Have you come to see me to have it measured? If you haven't, well, you can contact me. We can get you in for that. It won't cost you much. It'll cost you something for the time, but you're going to have information now that's going to help you. That stubborn fat is best going to be gotten rid of, besides eating better and your sleep-wake cycle being regular, sprint intervals. So, if you're a client of ours and you come in, we've got you on the ergonomic skier, we got you on the ropes, we got you on the big relaxing treadmill. By the way, you want to check out our new treadmill, go to carlsoren.com, front page, landing page. Just go there on the right side. You're going to click on that treadmill and watch it work. It's absolutely amazing. There's none like it in like a couple 100 miles of here anywhere in a radius, maybe even more than that too. There's hardly any in this country. This is going to give you a workout like no other workout.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and you think it's a regular treadmill. It is so not regular. It is so different in how it makes you work out. You're going to get your intervals in that way too. Sprint training. It doesn't mean you have to run as fast as you can, but you're going to be doing some form of elevate the heart rate. Maybe it's shaking the battle ropes. Maybe it's doing the skier where you're emulating cross-country skiing. Go hard for 30 seconds, go soft for 30. Go hard for a minute, go soft for a minute. Those sprints, spiking the heart rate up, getting it way up, zone 4 or 5, and then bring it down to zone 2 and repeat back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for a few minutes. That's going to help bust out that stubborn fat. But you got to do it almost every day, folks. You can't do it once and then come back a week later and do it once. And no, you have to do this stuff often. All right, so after 60 years of age, your energy becomes sacred. I can attest to that one. You're not there yet.
Give me a couple of years.
In my brain, I'm like 30 years old. Physically, I feel better than I've ever felt, except that once in a while I'm reminded I'm not 30. But let's follow a list of 7 things that you can do to maybe increase your energy level and maybe your emotional and mental health too. Wake up in silence. This is going to help set the tone for the day. Boy, I have a lot of typos in these notes, don't I?
Yes, you
But
do.
on the other page, I wrote Tabasco,
Oh,
but I meant tobacco. Don't reduce your Tabasco intake. Reduce your tobacco intake. Woo.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking about other things when I wrote this out. So number 1, wake up in silence. It's going to help set the tone for the day. Move your body every single day. Being still and sedentary is a slow decay. Eat with discipline. At this stage in life, at 60 plus, and actually I'll argue less than that age-wise, food is either fuel or it's poison. Spend time in nature, the quiet of the earth. This is going to help take that noise away. Speak less. Let your presence do the talking. Energy is preserved through silence. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. Let go daily. Regret, resentment, and noise, let it go. Drop them. They age you faster than time will itself. Focus on inner peace and what's happening on the inside, because that matters more than anything happening on the outside. Second hour coming up in a few minutes. This is News Radio 570 WSYR. We'll be right back.
The proceeding was a paid program by Carl Sterling. The content of this show is that of Carl Sterling and does not represent the views of the station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information has been for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician.
The following is a paid program by Carl Sterling. The content of this show is of Carl Sterling and does not represent the views of this station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information hereafter is for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician. Your Health Matters with Carl Sterling on News Radio 570 WSYR and 106.9 FM and live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Bringing the latest in health and wellness so you can get to the other things that matter. Here's your host, Carl Sterling.
Welcome back to Your Health Matters. Well, it's good to be here and doing a second hour again here today. For those who may not have heard it in the first hour, today was our last 2-hour episode. So from now moving forward, beginning next Sunday, June 15th, will be 1 hour, noon to 1. I won't repeat why. It's just time demands stress. Time is scarce these days, so it's really hard to get in here and do this much time. Or, it's hard to pre-record it too because of all this going on with the growth of the company and the growth of our Camillus location too. So we're grateful for that, but we got to cut back somewhere, and we'll keep the show going as long as we can, folks. We'll see what happens. Let's start off with some quotes here that I think are really relevant. Okay, before we do that, though, what we're doing is today talking about what will your last decade of life look like? Well, I want mine to be really good. Part of it is because I don't want to be a burden to anybody. Whose burden do you want to be? People hate it when I ask that, but seriously, there are people who, we know, and I'm not faulting them. Sometimes it's a lack of knowledge. Sometimes they have all the knowledge, though, and they just don't care. And I've been with some of those people, and they're in nursing homes now, and, they're not bad people. They just didn't care, and they had such a huge burden on their caregivers and the stress that happened, but they could have prevented, and their doctor, in these cases, Dr. Barry, my brother from another mother, if you will, a great friend, great doctor. We both work with a few of these people I'm thinking of, and they're in nursing homes. I mean, they're not bad people. They just didn't care. They just didn't care enough to get moving. And it's not that they didn't care about the caregiver or themselves at all, but I don't think they actually knew what was really happening to them.
Yeah, I don't think they realized that what affects their choices made or lack of doing made on their people that they love.
Yeah, and it's huge. I don't want to be a burden. So I don't want my negligence to be other people's problems ever. The day may come, something happens, and I have no control over it. We know that this can happen, folks. So I'm not saying that we can always avoid being a burden on somebody else. We have no guarantees. But how many times do we know of? A lot. People who coulda, shoulda, didn't, and then the spiral downward takes other people with them, And I also look at it, this is going to sound really mean, that your negligence and poor choices are actions of irresponsibility to yourself and to your loved ones. That's my personal opinion, and you don't have to agree with me, and you can call me up and yell at me, and it's okay. I won't answer, but you can leave a message. It's okay. I mean it well, though. Think about it. We woke up today. We have another day God has given of us. If you don't believe in God, it's okay. I didn't for 60 years. I didn't think there's any God. But I still appreciated the days I woke up, even on the days when I was obese. And I was still glad to wake up, but I just didn't know what to do with myself. I had no belief in myself that I could actually accomplish or do anything. And one of my coping mechanisms was eat and drink. Well, those days are long gone. But those actions on my end, they were irresponsible. And they did cause problems for my family. Well, it's gone and it's done. Let's talk about some long-term health and habits, okay? Like these are little quotes that I kind of think are relevant and important. Unless you want to read them. You have a better voice than I do.
I don't know. Okay, I'll read a few. How's that?
Good.
The heart attack at 50 started with the cheeseburgers at 20. You don't.
Yeah, so you don't have to put in cheeseburger. If you only had one, it's not going to matter. But if you eat Doritos every single day and load up on sugar and processed food, so that's what we're really talking about.
You don't die of a heart attack at 50. You die of poor choices made daily for decades.
We know that genetic exceptions, genetic-wise, maybe you're prone to heart issues, but a lot of people aren't, and they still have a heart attack because of poor choices.
Chronic disease is a delayed consequence of years of silent neglect.
Yeah.
Your future health is built or broken by what you do today. I like that quote.
Yeah.
In genetics, it's habits passed down through generations.
Yeah. So we can have some genetics to live to 107.
Right.
And maybe no matter what, some people live a long, long time and they're just abusing their body and they get to be like 90, 95. However, generally speaking, it's not the genetics. Look at identical twin studies, and there's your data right there. There are countless identical twin studies of a twin, identical. We're talking 99.9 same DNA. They're not exactly the same, but they're almost exactly the same. So let's just say they're the same. One makes good choices, one doesn't. One has problems, the other doesn't have as many health problems. One dies sooner, one lives longer. There you go.
The seeds of disease are sown in youth and harvested in age.
Mm-hmm.
You can't outrun your fork, not at 20, and certainly not at 50.
Mm-hmm. And not at 64, which I just turned.
I like that, outrun your fork.
By the way, thanks for the 2 cakes this week.
Well,
I only had one piece of each, though.
I know.
I felt so proud of myself, but they weren't small pieces. Hey, I'm not saying don't enjoy life. No. It was my birthday. I'm going to have cake. Are you kidding me? But I'm not going to eat it every day.
Right. I always say a little bit of moderation, even if it's a piece of cake once in a while isn't bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
Prevention doesn't feel urgent until it's too late.
Hence the whole medical world, pretty much.
Right.
Fix it because you're broken instead of like what Dr. Berry does.
Prevent it.
Keep you from breaking.
Right. Every meal, every step, every choice is either medicine or poison.
Amen.
The body keeps the score, and it's been watching since you were 20.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say even younger than that.
Yeah, totally. Because look at all the childhood and teenage obesity and diabetes.
Right. And that's going up, unfortunately.
We have just enough time to get through a few more. Let's keep going with these.
Quotes.
Yeah.
Quotes in the style of Alzheimer's at 80 began at 40.
Inflammation at 40. Yeah, Alzheimer's at 80. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just read the quote above.
My bad, folks.
Alzheimer's at 80 began with inflammation at 40. The stroke at 75 began with high blood pressure at 35. Parkinson's symptoms at 70 started with toxins at 30. Cancer at 65 began with chronic inflammation at 25. Diabetes at 60 began with sugar at 20. Osteoporosis at 70 began with inactivity at 40. Dementia at 85 began with poor sleep and processed foods at 45. The walker at 80 began with the chair at 40. Obesity at 60 began with skipping movement at 30. The heart failure at 70 began with soda and stress at 25. Cognitive decline at 75 began with isolation at 45. The fall at 85 began with skipping strength training at 50.
This is Your Health Matters. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Your Health Matters. So those quotes you read, yeah, pretty fascinating, huh?
They are.
Yeah, those are thought-provoking. So these things it's not like you just wake up one day and all of a sudden you're not healthy. It's been manifesting in you. It's finally coming out after, in most cases, probably decades of negligence or, lack of something or too much of something bad or whatever. I've got a whole bunch of things going through my head right now. First of all, with all that said, before we went to break, it's time to make a decision about your future. And that time is every moment that you're deciding, I should do this, but I'm not going to. Let's say it's exercise. I should eat this instead of that, or I shouldn't eat that instead of this. I mean, of course we're going to go off. I go off too. I mean, I do, but not most of the time. Pretty good. Usually bring a lunch to work. Seldom do I buy anything for lunch. And if I do, I try to make it at least halfway healthy. Because it's at this age, food is fuel or it's not. Like, it's easy to eat too much food of any kind, even good food. If you eat too much of anything, it's bad.
Right.
Anything that's good for you is good for you until the point it's not good for you anymore. Because too much, that's like Dr. Perry Nichols said last year, beautifully stated, right? I was with Dr. Dale Bredesen in New York City. It's going on 8 years ago at a luncheon that was hosted by Maria Shriver. And it was great to meet her and have time to talk with her and talk with him especially. I mean, she's great too. It's just that I was really able to talk with him about a lot of things. And he told me one of the first things he ever said to me, he took his hand and he put it over his belly and he says, Parkinson's lives here in the belly for 10 to 20 years minimum before it manifests and goes to your brain. Same thing with Alzheimer's. It's probably living in your belly first. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, it just might mean that some of the things we're eating, the toxins or drinking, we're putting into our bodies might be the cause. This coming Friday, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Ray Dorsey, who was with U of R, Rochester. He moved. He is now with Atria Health, New York City. He moved to New York City. So not the 15th, but probably on the 29th, I will air that episode because I have a feeling I'll be in Mexico that weekend, in Mexico City, working on the Mexico City location for us, the actually full-scale version of it there. Still not sure yet, but probably. Anyways, plan on hearing Dr. Ray Dorsey talking about his new book, which is coming up in this summer sometime, called The Parkinson's Plan. It's not available yet. I pre-ordered on Audible because I like audiobooks. I remember better. I learn more if I hear. But you get whatever works for you. The Parkinson's Plan by Dr. Ray Dorsey. So he also says that Parkinson's is almost always exposure environmental related. Maybe you live across from a golf course or downwind from a farm that uses pesticides like paraquat. Maybe you live near a dry cleaner or above a dry cleaner. I mean, we know a lady who had a fitness facility above a dry cleaning facility for, I think it was 30 years. I mean, the tritetrachloride that's coming off of that, I mean, that's just bad stuff. They use it to dry clean your clothes. They use it to kill bugs and crops too. So, a lot of times this is exposure related, but sometimes it's not exposure related. And if it is, we don't know it is, and you can't trace it back to anything, any kind of disease like cancers and this and that. I know people who've had cancer who have no, Tammy had breast cancer, no family history of cancer either side. Go figure. Never drinks, never eats hardly anything bad. Nope. Super, always lean and fit, yet got cancer at age 41. I mean, this is crazy. So there are exceptions, folks. Laura, my very good friend in Mexico, Laura Olmos is diagnosed with Parkinson's. And if you're listening, Laura, you're welcome to text me because I can't remember if it's at age 40. And you just had a birthday a week to the day before mine. So it's either 11 or 12 years ago you were diagnosed. She has no family history. There's no neurological disorder on either side in her uplines. Well, this happens a lot, folks. A lot of times there's no family history of anybody with Parkinson's. And maybe Alzheimer's too. Now, the reason I'm talking about Laura, and I could say the same thing about Tammy too, is they're fighting back. I mean, the cancer's gone. That's done. Laura still has Parkinson's. All right? So we can be, those who have had cancer, we can be on the lookout for it. You need to get your scans. Make sure you get your mammograms. Make sure you get whatever you need done to scan to make sure you don't have cancer again. But Parkinson's is going to be with Laura as she's fighting back. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because she didn't wait to get Parkinson's to get busy doing stuff. I mean, that girl she can go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. Like with Parkinson's and festering of the feet and this and that, she still moves really, really well. The reason I'm talking about her, and I've talked about her before, is this. She is an inspiration to every single person who knows her. And that's a lot of people. She has a very large global following. You know, as an ambassador for Davis Finney Foundation, as an ambassador and on committees for the World Parkinson Congress that's run by, not that you need to know, but Eli somebody who we had on the show a few months ago. I'm sorry,
I can't remember.
I can't remember her last name. But the thing is that girl, she'll text me sometimes, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and she just finished working out, just finished a 5-mile run after doing yoga and a dance class or a swimming thing. Well, people, if you can't control sometimes what happens to you. Laura couldn't control Parkinson's. Tammy couldn't control the cancer. They already took preventative measures. They were already healthy, living a healthy lifestyle. But they were afflicted with what happened to them. But so it's not like they were negligent, got broken, and now they're doing stuff. No. In Laura's case, Parkinson's, and I know others too, Ian Frizzell, Russ Parker. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And oh my gosh. I mean, the list is endless of people I know. People come to see us, right? Mm-hmm. You got Bucky. You got Irene. You got so many. They're coming in. They're fighting, but they were in most of the cases they were already doing something. But
Andy.
The choice. Oh yeah, Andy and the PPMS. That guy is the fighter of all fighters, man.
Yeah. So is John too.
Yeah, and Godbrother John, PPMS, rarest form of MS. These people are fighting. They do not give up. Laura doesn't give up. Andy doesn't give up. John doesn't give up. Irene, Bucky, they don't give up. They come in and they fight. And guess what? In some cases, some of these people were falling down 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they're hardly falling at all anymore. Maybe they're not even falling at all. Laura's fighting like crazy. You know what? And she's managing her disease. She actually, a few weeks ago, and actually I'm going to just check to see if she's said anything here on my phone, because she might correct me on something. 40. She was diagnosed at age 40. Thank you. She is listening. Thank you for listening, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Elizabeth says hi too. Yeah, we love you. You're the best. You're the inspiration. So she's fighting back. And so what's happening there? A few weeks ago, or months ago, I think it was weeks, her doctor decreased her dopamine supplement medication because she's exercising, doing so much to create naturally occurring dopamine that it if she kept taking the current dose, it would have been too much. And actually, that's bad for you too. Holy cow, folks. We can fight back against these things. Look at Dale Bredesen and his work and his newest book that just came out, which I had him on the show a couple months ago, and I'm so sorry I can't recall the name of The Aging Brain, or The Ageless Brain. I think it's The Ageless Brain. Dale Bredesen, talking about people who have reversed Alzheimer's, reversed dementia. And Alzheimer's is one of the forms of dementia. There are things we can do. So in some cases, people have neglected and they're getting diagnosed, and then they just fight like crazy, and their symptoms diminish. Their memory improves, the movement improves, they fall down less. In some cases, Alzheimer's isn't even traceable. They can't even find anything in the imaging. And people are moving better, falling less. There are choices, folks. And it's time for you to decide, what are you going to do? All right, so we're at the bottom of the hour already. This is Your Health Matters News Radio, 570 WSYR. We'll be back after the bottom of the hour break. Welcome back. So, I've been thinking that, I don't want to come across like I'm lecturing anybody. Really what I'm trying to do is inspire people to possibly get moving and make better decisions, make less excuses. The excuses we make now, we pay consequences for later. And, I don't want my excuses to become someone's burden, the reason I'm a burden. I'm just not going to let it happen. So there are times when I'll eat less than optimally quality of food-wise, or maybe how much I eat. But I feel that. I feel it right away these days. If I eat too much, it just seems to stay with me for, days.
Yep.
When I go into an autocorrect mode, like I just can't deal with how that feels. I can't deal with it. It's not just like I feel a little bit bigger around the belly or something. I just don't feel good. I feel lethargic. I feel irresponsible. And I feel lazy because it just makes me feel lazy. And I don't want to feel like that. I can't afford that luxury of just sitting around and doing nothing. I don't have the time for that. I have to be doing things to help people because it ain't about me, it's about we. This show isn't about Carl Sterling, it's about all of us together. Because a healthier society is, the healthier we are, each of us, the healthier society will be. Which we'll get into in the last quarter, talking about this little movement that I've been trying to get off the ground. It's picking up a little bit, called Together We Rise. But in the meantime, I want to say thank you to Laura for communicating with me here while we're live on air. I'll get you back on as a guest sometime soon, Laura. And, it's time to make decisions, folks. And we talked about it enough. Let's move on. We're going to talk about coffee. Probably one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. Okay, so there are some people out there, doctors, who will say you shouldn't drink it ever at all. and I actually don't know why. And I really actually, do you know why? Is there any reason they talk about that?
I'm don't quote me, but I believe it has to do with anxiety. They don't recommend it if you have anxiety because it speeds up your heart.
Yeah,
Like,
I can
it makes
understand
you-
that.
But
The other day
I
when
think
I
it
had
has
chocolate
the heart-
cake and coffee, I started to feel that
the jitters.
edge.
Yeah.
And that's where I can kind of get to be irritable. Was I irritable?
No.
Oh, good.
No.
Oh, thank you.
Crazy,
good
but
Lord.
not irritable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But if we look at this, okay, I didn't make this up, okay, this comes from David Walker. He's the author of the book called Why We Sleep. Now, if you go to carlsterling.com, Carl with a K, and go to the sleep tab, much of what I wrote on there comes from his book. All right. Why We Sleep is one of the very best books I've ever read in my life. And if you read that book, when you get to the end, you're going to realize if you don't sleep enough, you're going to have issues down the road, more than likely. Anyways, enough about sleep. Our Western culture is generally antioxidant deficient. Coffee, even decaffeinated, has this health predictive signal and has a whopping dose of antioxidants. Okay, so now I can make an excuse why I have like 4 or 5 cups.
4 or 5. That's just in the morning.
Hush, hush. Okay, now we're going to follow this right up with hydration.
There you go.
Okay. All right, well, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, coffee, diuretic. Well, believe it or not, there's some medical experts that say that coffee will help to hydrate you because there's water in it. Well, we also know it is a diuretic, so I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. I have no opinion. All I know is you won't get me to stop drinking coffee. And so I'm just going to drink it. I drink it black. That's pretty much the only way I ever have it. Unless I have one of those lattes, but I go single pump instead of 5 on the sugar.
Right.
Because that's just way too much. I don't want a heart attack latte.
And I have to stop after.
Tomorrow's it. We're cutting it off.
Yeah. And I have to stop drinking coffee by 12 or else I can't sleep.
Yeah, there are a lot of people like that too. Yeah, you could be, if you have something at 3, 4, 5 or after, you're up for hours at night.
Hours.
Yeah. So do what works for you, folks. I'm not saying you should drink coffee like espresso at 7 p.m. like I do. I can handle it. I go right to sleep. Anyways, let's talk about hydration. What are the potential consequences of dehydration, especially in the elderly? Okay, well, we have, warm weather was here upon us the other day, 90 degrees, and we have more of it coming. And that's just here in Syracuse, New York area. How about in the Southwest and, Texas and Florida, all these places, and maybe you're in Mexico or you're somewhere where it's, 90, 100, 110 degrees. You better be drinking the water because dehydration in the elderly can have serious and sometimes life-threatening consequences. And this can be due to age-related physiological changes that often reduce the perception of thirst, or whether or not you're thirsty. So some people don't feel thirsty, so they think, well, I don't have to drink. Well, you don't want to wait to be thirsty to drink. It's probably too late in some cases, especially on a hot day.
Yeah.
So, do you want to read some of this, the cognitive impairment?
Sure.
Let's go through these things.
So the first one is cognitive impairment, which is confusion, disorientation, or delirium, worsening of dementia symptoms, and increased risk of falls due to impaired judgment and balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the second is kidney dysfunction, acute kidney injury, increased risk of urinary tract infections, concentrated urine leading to bladder irritation.
Let's dwell on that for just a minute. Let's just make up a scenario. Okay, so maybe you're 80 years old or 60 or 90 or whatever. You're dehydrated. It's 90 degrees outside. Or maybe it's 60, but you're dehydrated. Let's say it's 90. And you're getting a little bit, let's say, confused. And you get weak. And your depth perception's off. You trip, you fall, you break a hip, you break a femur, you go to the hospital. all because you were dehydrated. Well, now you're going to have maybe surgery. Maybe you get pneumonia or something like that in the hospital. Maybe you don't make it out of the hospital because you die of pneumonia. I'm talking about real life stuff here. This happens to people. Actually, just recently I met somebody who, sadly, I think his father at some point, he fell down, broke something, got pneumonia, died. If he hadn't fallen, I don't know if he was dehydrated. But I'm trying to give you a real life scenario that actually happens. You don't want this, folks.
I think a lot
And plus this confusion and memory, you ever have somebody, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
That's
you ever
fine.
like have somebody who all of a sudden like they wake up one day and maybe they're elderly probably, and it seems like overnight they got Alzheimer's. Or, their urinary,
Yep,
it burns when they pee. I mean, well, they're dehydrated. They get a UTI. They don't have Alzheimer's. They're dehydrated. They have to hydrate.
I think when you're elderly, you don't want to drink a lot of water because then you have to go to the bathroom a lot and they don't want to move. So I think that has a lot to do with it, but that's why you got to keep moving so you can.
Yeah, let's keep going with number 3 there.
Cardiovascular strain, low blood pressure, hypotension, dizziness, fainting, and increased fall risk. How do you say that, honey?
Tachycardia, which is a rapid heartbeat.
Tachycardia, rapid heartbeat to compensate for low blood volume. And then
Let's talk about the fun one here.
constipation and digestive problems.
Yeah,
Okay.
we know a lot of people who are constipated.
Reduced fluid in the GI tract leads to hard, difficult to pass stools. Increased risk of bowel obstruction or impaction. Number 5, electrolyte imbalances, especially sodium,
Hyponatremia
or
or
hypotremia,
whatever that is.
and potassium
Yeah.
can lead to muscle cramps, weakness, or even cardio arrhythmias. Heat-related illness, high susceptibility to heat exhaustion or heat stroke, impaired thermal regulation. 7, medication complications, reduces clearance of medication, especially diuretics and antihypertensives and NSAIDs. Increased side effects or toxicity risk. Functional decline is number 8, loss of strength and endurance, reduced ability to perform activities of daily living. Why elderly are at high risk, decreased sense of thirst, reduced kidney function, medications, diuretics and laxatives, physical limitations, trouble reaching fluids, cognitive impairment, forgetting to drink, illness or infections, fever, vomiting, diarrhea.
Perfect. This is Your Health Matters News Radio 570 WSYR. We're going to break. One more segment coming right up. Welcome back to Your Health Matters. My name is Carl Sterling. Elizabeth Brusa is with me today. Thanks for being here. It's fun to do this with you.
Yeah.
We've been talking about making your last decade really, really good so you're living the best you can, because there's a really good chance if you make good decisions now, you get moving, move every day, and eat well, stay away from all the crap, that you'll probably live better and longer, and your last decade will be much healthier and enjoyable. So the elderly tend to be at a higher risk, hydration-wise, because of a decreased sense of thirst, reduced kidney function, medications, diuretics, laxatives. A lot of them are on those things, right? So you could be on some kind of, LASIK or whatever medication to have you go urinate more, but think, well, I don't need to drink, but actually you do. You're taking a diuretic. Maybe physical limitations, reaching the fluid, getting the fluid. Maybe you can have somebody help you to find a way to make it easier to get the fluid, or forgetting to drink. I mean, this happens. Sometimes somebody they forget, either with or without cognitive impairment, they just forget to drink. And of course, well, there's a lot more. Prevention tips. And I encourage you to do some routine sipping, not just waiting for the thirst. Don't wait to get thirsty. Drink before you're thirsty. Maybe eat some water-rich foods. Some of the soups, they can be really good. or fruits. Watermelon, right? Watermelon. It's got a lot of water in it, I guess.
yeah.
I think it's like 90% water or something. Monitor the color of your urine. If it's light yellow, you're probably hydrated. If it's dark, you better get drinking water. You don't want to have like a fall because you're just dizzy because you don't have enough, you're underhydrated. And watch for signs like dry mouth, confusion, dark urine, fatigue. These things might be a sign of dehydration. And, the warm weather's coming, folks. And, for those of you who are like, let's say, native Central New Yorkers, well, by golly, you sure don't want it to be over 80 degrees, most of you, because 80 degrees is too hot for a lot of people. I don't really like it, the 90s like I used to. I used to love it when it was in high 80s up to mid 90s. No problem. As I get older, I'm not really a fan of anything over like 85.
I don't like the humidity. I'll take heat. I can take heat. Humidity, I don't like.
That is tough. Yeah, I don't enjoy it either. So a lot of us in this climate, if we go to Florida in the winter, for example, and it's like 65 degrees, we got a tank top and shorts.
Yeah.
While all of them down there are cold because it's only 65. So, we're used to what we're used to here. When it gets to be 98 degrees, 102 degrees, whatever, we're feeling so stifled and like, oh, no. Well, make sure you're drinking enough water, folks. Heat stroke is real. So what's your last decade going to look like? I have 4 grandchildren and another one coming in about 2 weeks. And I am going to do everything I can to be mobile enough to play tag, to run around and chase them, let them climb on me, let them just do things with them, pick them up, toss them around a little bit, because I don't want to be in a wheelchair. Not by choice anyways. I mean, not by negligence. Would you be healthy enough to embrace every moment? And hopefully they're good moments where you're actually doing things you want to do with those you want to do it with. Maybe you like to travel. We have people in their 80s, even 90s.
90s.
Like going to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking about people who've always been moving. Always been moving.
Yep. The 190-year-old, she always walked with her groceries home.
I was just thinking about her. Yeah, our friend Dolores,
Yep.
She's really an inspiration to me. She's, she'd be walking up the hill in Salve with Cogswell or something.
Yep.
Bag of groceries in each arm. People want to ride. Oh, no, I'll walk. Hey, that's one way of staying younger, folks. Having more vitality. Will you live with vitality, or will you get old with disease, probably at a younger age? We don't want that. Okay, that's it for that. Again, next week we start our 1-hour broadcast. And I say this not because I'm trying to be vague. It's been difficult to keep the show going for a lot of different reasons. I want to keep it going, and I plan to keep it going, so we'll see how much longer we can do it. But we do have to cut it back. We're going to go from 12 to 1 p.m. starting next week every Sunday. All right? Same stuff, just 12 to 1, not 11 to 1. Been grateful, though, for Hunter Hillers helping us so much, and Tias, and, of course, our producer, Kyla, and then Dave Swanson's here sometimes, and those are the 2 we've worked with the most over the past year and a half. And they're all amazing, and they've helped us to navigate the way and stay on the air and, bring you, hopefully, things that teach you something. I've gotten texts from people like, no, don't go off the air because we rely on you. If you really like us, I'd like to hear about it, because I'd like you to get on my website and email or text me from there. I'm asking you to please let me know, what are you thinking of what we talk about? Because I get a fair amount of feedback, but really not that much. And I'd like to get more. What would you like to learn about? Maybe it's something we can cover. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I want to know so I can try to dig in and help you. With that said, I also want to say, Together We Rise is a global human movement dedicated to creating a more compassionate, connected, and empowered world. We're living in a time when division and disconnection is everywhere more than it has ever been in my lifetime. And this is where I feel it's important to have a movement as a call to come together, not through politics, not through religion, but through our shared humanity. It's about helping one another, lifting each other up, and building a community rooted in kindness, empathy, and truths. Together We Rise is for anyone who believes in the power of unity. It's for those ready to lead with love, to take responsibility, and to create positive change, and create positive change. Starting with themselves, you have to start with you, extending it to the communities and beyond. This is a movement of hope, action, and togetherness. It's about rising, not alone, but side by side, because when one of us rises, we all rise together. So you can go to carlsterling.com, go to the Together We Rise tab, and then click through to Instagram, click through to Facebook, especially Facebook. Join the group there. Elizabeth, thanks for helping me today.
You're very welcome.
It's always great to have you here. We'll be back 12 to 1 next week and subsequent weeks. Thank you, Kyla. And thank you to all of you who are listening. We really appreciate your support. Contact me if you have questions or subject matter you want to hear about. My name is Carl Sterling. This is Your Health Matters. You're listening to News Radio 570 WSYR, also on 106.9 FM. Have a great week.
The preceding was a paid program by Carl Sterling. The content of this show is that of Carl Sterling and does not represent the views of the station or iHeartMedia. Some of the information contained in this program has not been approved by the FDA, nor is it intended to diagnose, prevent, treat, or cure any diseases. Information has been for general information only, and before considering anything discussed, you should contact your doctor or primary care physician.